Welcome to season 14 of the Parenting Aces podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, coming at you live from the Intennse Arena here in Atlanta, Georgia. I am thrilled this week to have with me Jordan Cox, who is a former top junior player, went on to have a semi-successful professional career before deciding to go back and play some college tennis. Now he is pursuing an acting career in addition to being a tennis coach at the Harp Tennis Academy with my friend Jim Harp here in the Atlanta area. And Jordan's story is super, super interesting, which is why I wanted to have him on. He, like I said, was a top junior player. He had amazing opportunities, ended up moving down to the Bollettieri Academy, where he and his brother both trained, both pursued tennis at a very high level. And I will let you listen to the podcast and hear the rest of the story. But before we get to Jordan, just quickly a reminder, if you don't know, we are so much more than this podcast. We have a website, we have social media channels. I do one-to-one consulting with tennis families. So I hope that you will dig into all of the opportunities that Parenting Aces provides for you and check us out. Drop me an email, drop me a DM. Love hearing from you guys, and super excited to get into this conversation with Jordan and bring it to all of you. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Jordan Cox. Jordan Cox, so great to see you.
Good to see you, Lisa.
Thank you so much for doing this, first of all. And I want to just say, look at this amazing arena we're in.
We have quite the venue here.
I know. I have spent several days here over the past week or so, and this intense thing is intense. And let me just say to the audience, pardon my voice, I am dealing with some sort of Atlanta
It's going around.
allergy.
It's going around.
thing.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So I'm trying not to breathe on Jordan because he's got an audition tomorrow.
That's right.
Don't want to get
That's
too
right.
sick. So let's start by just having you kind of tell us a little bit about how you got started in the game of tennis.
Okay. I started at 8 years old. My parents played. My brother started playing. I wanted to do everything my brother was doing. So I started taking classes and lessons, and we kind of just went from there, and we both loved it. And I think about a year or two later, we were already entering into junior tournaments, local junior tournaments. And then my parents had their hands full from then on out.
What kind of tennis parents were they? Were they like super involved? Did they kind of hand you off to a coach?
A little bit of both. Not super involved, but they obviously were invested in our tennis, and they wanted to see us do well and succeed. But I think they put a lot of trust into us at a young age, and also the choices we wanted to do as players, whether that was with coaching, with going to an academy, traveling, fortunately to be able to travel to tournaments around the nation and eventually around the world. So if I had to say, I had like the best of both. My dad definitely was into it because he was a sportsman himself. He really wanted to see us do really well, and he was a good tennis parent. My mom was kind of sitting back a little bit more, really invested, but more nervous, and just wanted to see us do well and have fun and all that. So we had great supportive parents that let us kind of choose our path a little bit.
You wound up down at Bollettieri,
Yeah.
now IMG.
Mm.
What went into that decision?
That was, again, because of my brother, Brad. He ended up playing college tennis at Kentucky.
Great program.
Yeah, and he was a great junior himself and great college tennis player. But he started there at 14. We
Wow.
both played Eddie Herr, and he was scouted there during like 14 and unders. He did really well. I think he made semis there. I was there playing 12s, was way out of my league. But he ended up getting like a scholarship to IMG, to Bollettieri. And then about a year or two later, after he'd already been training there, living there, we made the decision that I'd be able to go down there and join him. And we actually lived in dorms together.
Wow.
Lived, slept, eat, trained, did everything around tennis there.
Where were your parents living at that point?
In Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah. Born in Florida, hadn't started tennis there yet. We came to Atlanta, and Atlanta is where we both started playing grassroots. And then pretty much from Atlanta to our time in Florida, we spent the majority of our time before him going to college and me turning pro, it was all Florida at IMG.
Mm-hmm. And how many years were you there?
I think I started going there on and off at 13 and started really full time about 14, 15. And that was my main base till I stopped playing tennis at 21, 22.
Wow.
Yeah, that was always the home base. My parents moved down in 2009.
Okay.
Moved from Atlanta down there, so we actually ended up living there all together for several years.
Nice.
But before that, we were in the dorms, and yeah, it was from 14 to 21 I was there.
What are some of your fondest memories being there?
Well, first off, they have world-class facilities. Like everything about that place was top-notch, but definitely the roommates and the fun we had in the dorms. We had some famous roommates, including like Kay Nishikori was in there, and someone that's going to be coming here for Intennse, Jesse Levine. But we had a lot of fun in the dorms, just being kids and getting up to shenanigans. And maybe getting ourselves into some trouble that we maybe shouldn't have been doing, but we're just kids and we're trying to find some fun, because it was literally get up, go to the gym, get on the tennis court, go eat lunch, recover, back in the gym, back on the tennis court, and then that was the day. And weekends we were really trying to like spread our wings and get out a little bit. So
I've heard stories.
Yeah. Well, we can save that for another time, maybe.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I talk to a lot of families who were considering boarding academies for their kids. And, from the parent side of it, my take is always, unless your kid is really extraordinary at the sport, why are you going to hand them over to somebody? You have such limited time to shape who they become as adults. And they spend the majority of their life as adults, hopefully. And so we want to have that influence over them as parents. But at the same time, you want to support your child's dream if they have a passion for something. Do you remember, did your parents struggle at all about this decision to let y'all go down to IMG and to board there full time?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to their experience too much. It'd be better to ask them.
Well, sure.
But from my perspective and knowing them now for 33 years, I think they had a very difficult time.
Yeah.
We're very close. We're a close family. They live abroad now, and we don't see each other very often. So it's tough. And I know at that age, at 13, 14, 15, us leaving and going away from under the roof, it's very difficult. But again, what I said earlier is they were very supportive of our dream. And both of our dreams, my brother and I, was to play professional tennis. And we believed that the best way to do that was by going to Bollettieri Academy.
But you both were showing incredible results from a young age, right? This isn't, oh, I won a round or two at a L3, and so I decided to go down there. This is, I'm winning big national tournaments. I'm beating my peers week in, week out.
Yeah.
Right?
We were tracking well, for sure.
Yeah.
But this isn't all to say that that was the one and only best path for us. Because we had a lot of great coaches here in the Atlanta area.
Who did you work with here?
I was with Cannon Campbell here, Marcus Rutschi at Windward, at the time was Windward, Bill Anderson, Vitek, who's now up at Manor.
Okay.
They're still all around and involved. But they got us going, and they were great coaches, and we came along some great coaches as well in juniors. But we just felt with the opportunity that was given to us, we should take it, because again, you're going down there with other world-class tennis players, a lot of different levels, a lot of different ages, a lot of different coaches, the gym facilities, the resources there were, you couldn't beat it. And for us at the time, we just thought, why not take advantage of this? We didn't fortunately have to pay the full, room, board, and all that. We were getting a scholarship there. So that was tough to pass up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Talk about academics a little bit. Yeah, I mean, we need to, because
I know them.
Use of this.
Yeah.
And especially in the current climate, right, with all the changes happening with the NCAA and Since COVID, with the proliferation of virtual learning opportunities and things like that, I know, back in the day, Bollettieri wasn't known for
Yeah.
A+ academics,
Yeah.
but talk a little bit about your experience academically.
Well, they had a program there which my brother and I did not get involved with. We both went down there already with a virtual learning program. I was with Laurel Springs, and then I think another one was Keystone,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm forgetting one other. We kind of bounced around a little bit trying to find a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
But it really did give us the flexibility
Sure.
to do that and not only be there and training and living full time, but to also go to tournaments
Right.
and go to 5, 6, 7 day tournaments. And
Were you in charge of monitoring yourself? There was nobody. I mean, your
pretty
parents
much,
weren't around.
yeah, no, they weren't there.
Yeah.
Of course, we would have daily calls. They'd be checking in and
Sure.
stuff. But at the end of the day, it landed on us. And a couple of these programs, they were great programs, but there wouldn't be these deadlines. There wouldn't be these weekly check-ins with teachers. It was really all just self-dependent on the student.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were. I was young. I was immature. I was like, procrastinating, and I put it on the back burner a little bit with homeschooling. And I think that's the con, but the big pro to it is, hey, I can still get a really good education because it was. You stay on it, meet your deadlines, and I can still go and play tennis, train, travel, do all the things I want to do. But with that being said, I had a great time in actual school. I went till I was about ninth grade. Really great grades. I was still able to balance the training here in Atlanta and doing the schoolwork and the hours. But as soon as I got into homeschool, I did a little bit of a poor job of just keeping on it. And I wish I had done a little bit of a better job there with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing I wish I could have done better.
I would love to hear about your experiences coming up with the players you came up with. Maybe talk a little bit about your experiences at Kalamazoo, because you had some great tournaments.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the junior slams.
Yeah. I can't speak highly enough of Kalamazoo just for a junior tennis tournament for an American. I remember the first time I played was when I was 14, I think, in the 16s. And you're just stepping in there and you're going to Stowe Stadium
Mm-hmm.
and you're seeing all these names on the board. You're seeing the big stadium courts and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it really is a special feeling. You see the blueberries and cream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all these traditions of it. I mean, this tournament was insane. And you're going against the best in the country,
Right.
the 256 best kids in the country. So that one really was special. You felt a different kind of pressure playing that one, whether you were coming in at 14, unseeded, unranked, whatever, or being top seed in 18, 16s like that. It was just a really, really fun but nerve-wracking pressure. So I loved that event. I was always just like this, like all the time, and I'm sure everybody that played it can attest to it a little bit. And then as far as the junior slams go, that is truly, and Kalamazoo made you feel a similar way, but that was truly one of the places, like French, Wimby, US Open. I didn't play Australian, where you felt like one of the pros.
Yeah.
You get your credential. You're behind, the doors of where Djokovic, Nadal, Federer are walking around. You're in the same cafeteria. You're hopping onto the same practice courts. I was fortunate to hit with Nadal like 4 times back to back during the US Open.
Tell you how jealous I am of that. Oh, so jealous.
I stood in the middle and he rips in practice.
Oh,
I've
watched him.
He flattens the ball out so much, but I'm there just trying to absorb and make as many balls as I can, give him a good practice. I didn't have to move too much, but after hour 15, I was in the locker room like almost throwing up. I was so gassed. It took that much out of me, just standing in one place and trying to absorb his ball. So that was something else. But I did 4 hits with him. Wimbledon, I had an amazing week making the finals of Junior Wimbledon in 2009. I had my family there. And the day before I hit with Roddick, we both warmed up. He was in the final against Federer. He had that heartbreaking loss to
heartbreaker.
And yeah, he's almost 2 sets up. That was rough.
Yeah.
We both had heartbreakers that day. But just the fact that you can get the credential, walk around, really feel what it's like to be here and see these guys in their element. And then hopefully let that you absorb that and see, all right, this is what they do. This is what I got to do if I want to get to this level. That professionalism and their routines and their day to day was something else.
Do you feel like that having that experience of playing the junior slams was a big influence in your decision to pursue a pro career, or had you already made that choice prior?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I'd always grown up wanting to be professional tennis players, like pro tennis or bust for me.
Okay.
I wanted to be number one in the world. So that was always maybe not the forefront, maybe at the back. But then in 2009, when I did the Wimbledon run, that is when I started getting some notice from some agents, from sponsors, from this and that. And that really propelled me and put me in a place to go, hey, maybe I can do this. And that's when I made the decision to go play pro tennis.
And your brother was already at Kentucky?
He was already at Kentucky, I believe, for
Okay.
1 year.
Okay.
And he was on summer break. So he actually came over to Europe.
Nice.
He did the whole clay court swing, the grass court swing with me as coach. So it was really special. But yeah, I remember after that week, we're like, let's really go at it and go play pro tennis. And that's when I really started getting into futures, challengers, started getting some wild cards and started to go full at that. And I even gave up. I think I had another year of junior eligibility.
There's a fly in here. Sorry. It's like buzzing around.
I see it. I'm going to get this thing. No, I don't want to.
Yeah. Don't smush it on me.
I'm really liking you.
I know. It must smell good. I don't know.
Yeah, so we went full at it from the summer of 2009 on. And I decided not to play junior slams the next year. I think I had another year in 2010, which I kind of regret because of the experience that you get with those slams. I wish I could have done that again instead of going and playing all these futures. In the summer, you're in Godfrey, Illinois, instead of playing in London at Wimbledon. So,
did you have sponsors at that point that were kind of funding your run?
I had mom and dad
up
through the juniors all the way up until 17.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very, very fortunate for that. And then, the financial crisis hit, and we were in it was a weird spot because it hit them very hard. It hit everybody very hard.
Yeah.
And we had to decide, I had to decide whether it was go to college and play D1 and get full scholarship or go play pro tennis. And I was going to get some funding to do that, outside funding. And I was sitting there and I was like, I want to go play pro tennis, and went that route.
Yeah. And so you had an agent at this point?
I did, yes.
Okay. And then where did the outside funding, was that through sponsors?
It was both.
A benefactor?
It was benefactor and some sponsors through K-Swiss and Babolat that helped me also.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was helpful. It helped fund me for a good 3 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Of going and traveling.
And I mean, what people need to understand is it is what, 150K a year to be out there?
It's a lot. When I was playing and traveling, I felt like it was that number.
Yeah.
And nowadays with how costs are and traveling and plane tickets and hotels, it's absurd.
Yeah.
It really is. It's not an easy job to take this on by yourself or just privately,
Right.
It really is huge if you can get some outside investors, benefactors, friends, anything that can help out with it.
I had the opportunity, I can't even remember what year it was now. I was at the US Open and I was watching a match and sitting next to these people, and we started chatting, and turned out they were funding the pro career of one of the players on court.
Do you remember who it was?
Yeah. And I'm gonna blank.
It's all right.
Yeah, it wasn't you. It was somebody else, but it was a Canadian player.
Okay.
And talking to them about like why they're doing this. Why would you write a check to this kid? You have no idea if you're ever going to see a return. And they were like, you see where we're sitting? This is why we did it. Yeah. We wanted to be in the player box at the US Open. Yeah. It's like, well, that's cool.
That's special. That you're able to do that for sure.
That's really cool. So I think, there's kind of this misunderstanding of what it means to have like a Babolat as a sponsor. Yeah. It's not always a check being written. No. Sometimes it's just product, which, let's face it, product is expensive. And if you're playing professionally, you're going through rackets, you're going through shoes, you're going through all of that stuff rather quickly. Yeah. But
my attitude on court. I go through some rackets fairly quickly
yeah,
too. So
so
yeah.
you're one of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Okay, good, good. But I mean, I think, that's not paying your hotel bill. That's not paying your coach. That's not paying your airfares. So this struggle and the pressure to make it,
Yeah.
to get a paycheck at the end of the week
Mhm.
is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt that even having some funding, knowing that I would be able to go play the next week or I'd be able to go play the next month. But there are thousands of players that are playing at the futures level, maybe even challenger level, that are absolutely just trying to break even
Yeah.
or just get to even. And if they do that, that's a positive week.
Right.
Because more often than not, yeah, you're coming out
In the red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well in the red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay, so you transition to your pro career, you're playing these futures and challengers. What was going through your mind in terms of how do I know when I've made it versus how will there be a sign that I need to try something else? And there's a mindset around that that's really tricky,
Yeah.
right? Because you've got to stay positive, you've got to stay, laser focused on winning matches,
Yeah.
getting better, staying fit, all those things. But at the same time, you're 17, then all of a sudden you're 21.
Yeah.
What goes through your head?
I was very gung ho starting out. I was
Sure.
really like
It's an
excited.
adventure.
It is an adventure, and we were trying different things, but we were trying to do all the right things. Getting a coach to travel with when we could, not every week, but when we could.
Yeah.
Choosing the right tournaments, these stretch of tournaments, choosing the places that there are some that are maybe not favorable, and there are some that are better areas, better hotel, better just tennis tournaments in general. So we were really trying to map this thing out.
When you say we, is that you and your agent? You and
Yes, yeah, pretty much that kind of
the team.
Yeah, that inner circle kind of thing. My brother too was very instrumental in that, but yeah, parents, brother, a coach at the time, an agent, yeah, for sure. So we were trying to map those things out and play and compete. I set very high expectations for myself, which I think was for better or worse. I don't know, but I kind of expected to jump out the gates and start just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And the reality is, there's only, I mean, you got the Alcarazes and the Sinners and these young guys that are able to just blitz through it.
Right.
But the reality is that many of us don't do that.
Yeah.
We have to toil through the futures. We have to make our way through that. We have to make our way through the challengers, get the opportunity ATPs. So I was chipping away. I won a future in Korea, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I made some semis. I made some finals. I was doing well in doubles. I was on the right path. I had hit top 500 and top 450. And then there was just this sudden, shift trend back the other way. And all it takes is, it can take an injury, which, knock on wood, I never, dealt with too many bad ones. It can take an injury, just a loss here or there, a couple losses in a row. It really gets you up here. And I find myself in this kind of slump more often than not. And I was just struggling, battling to try and win matches at the futures level.
Right.
Because I went to 450, started trickling down. I saw my ranking in the 500s. Now it's 600s. Whoa, 7, 8. And now I'm like going to the Florida Futures, just barely making the main draw and battling to win a round. And then during that time, and I'd say from like 1920 on, I started feeling that way more than the let's go, let's get this. I know I'm going to make it. We're going to make it. We're doing the right stuff. And the losses compiled. I found myself enjoying the travel and the place that I was going to more than the tennis part of it, the routines, the professionalism of being a professional tennis player. And I was just not doing the right things. I wasn't warming up right. I wasn't pre-stretches, post-stretches. I wasn't eating as well as I should have. And all those things just compiled. And I looked at it, and I believe I was at the Lexington Challenger. in, I don't know what year it was, but I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
And I played this match, and I remember getting off, and I called my dad, which was a very, very difficult phone call to make. And I said, hey, I don't know about this right now. I'm really struggling and I'm not enjoying it. I think I want to take a break. And that's all it was right there. At that point, it was just a break.
Mm-hmm.
A few weeks, month, 2 months, get away from it, come back a little bit more fresh. And that ended up being a permanent break for me.
And how was that received by your parents?
I think my dad hit it well. Again, I can't speak enough to how supportive they were of us, and loving they were of us and whatever decisions we were doing throughout. But I know that it hurt my dad, and it definitely hurt my mom too.
Yeah.
We started at 8, and
It's a lot of
we start
years.
lessons at 8 with the foam balls and stuff, and then we're traveling across the country. We're doing road trips to Florida and to Arkansas and things like that. They're sending us on planes to Europe, and they see us, go play college tennis, go to Wimbledon, do all these things, and they're along for the ride. They're feeling that too. They're hugely invested. But I think definitely more emotionally. I'm not discounting how much money it costs for them to do what we did, but emotionally, they were along this ride.
Yeah.
And to get that call, I know that was a bit of a gut punch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even, man, this might be revelations to them if they listen and watch this. I think to them, I told them it was a break. Just I need to cool off, get away from it, and we'll come back and I think deep down I knew that I didn't want to do this anymore.
Interesting.
And it was more based in that decision was based there than, our funding was starting to run out. So we would have had to find other ways to fund traveling and having this career. But it was definitely me emotionally, mentally, physically. I was fine. I was still young, but I just couldn't do with the wear and tear, and the burnout was real for me.
Did you seek out counseling, support on the mental side?
Not at that time. No.
Did you think about it? Like, was that a thing?
To be honest, my first answer is no. I don't recall like, hey, I should really talk to someone about this right now in this moment, which is crazy because I worked with psychologists and different mental training programs. They had one at IMG. I worked with one privately, and some were helpful, some weren't. You take bits and pieces from all these things, but I didn't look for any outside help during that time. So yeah, that's curious. Good question.
I wonder if that would have made a difference.
It certainly could have. You never know. You never know. You hear a different voice, or you get a different perspective. Right. It certainly can change things. But to skip to the end, I don't have any regrets of how everything happened. Things happen for a reason. So
sure, absolutely. And this is a conversation I have with my son actually a lot, because he quit playing after his sophomore year of college, and his freshman year of college was not a great experience. And I've asked him multiple times, do you have any regrets of that decision to go to that school, that particular program? He's like, no, because that led to this next thing, which led to this next thing, which, So, but it took a while to be able to say that and believe it and feel it.
You can go down that rabbit hole rather quickly.
But that's life, right? We take what we're dealt, and we either learn from it and move forward and build, or we, go into the fetal position.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. Now it's easier, again, with some time and hindsight, it's easier to like say, oh, why didn't you do that?
Yeah.
Well, because I was in this place then. I don't know.
You were 21. You're traveling the world by yourself, and you're doing what you feel is the right thing for you in that moment.
Yeah.
And listen, I have a lot of respect for your independence at that young age, and your willingness you're good. Your willingness to put yourself out there and all that. So at 21, you make this decision, you make the phone call, you make the decision. I'm done. I'm done.
Taking my talents too.
Yeah. What came next after that?
That was the unknown. The immediacy of it was very unknown.
Yeah.
It was a mystery.
Was it come home to Atlanta?
So my parents at that point were in Sarasota. So they were there where our training base
Okay.
was still. So I went home to Florida, to Sarasota, and I still was buying into this was a break.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put the rackets down. Maybe it was summertime. Yeah, Lexington's in the summer. So I went back, enjoyed the summertime, got some vitamin D, sat by the pool. And then, I just started contemplating when I might get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
When I made the decision or realization that I didn't want to get back to it, that was another maybe full gut punch to my parents a little bit, and to
How
all
long
of
was
us.
that process? Do you
I'd
remember?
say after that, like 2 to 3 month mark, it seemed pretty clear. I was pretty clear that I wasn't gonna. And so at that point, I was like, well, I can't keep sitting around. So I went and started coaching, and I remember going and coaching in Bradenton with Hugo Armando.
Mm-hmm.
He's a former tennis player, now coach, and he works with Tommy Paul now. He's a great guy, him and his dad. So I started coaching there, working with some juniors there. Again, am I going to be a tennis coach? I didn't really want to do that because I had this like disdain for tennis at that point.
Right.
I didn't want to watch it.
But interesting that you chose to go coach.
Well,
because you didn't know what else to do. Maybe
I got my diploma, but I didn't want to go and get a desk job either, or go and intern somewhere. I was like, let me go coach. It's what I know. I know tennis. Let me make some money until I figure out what I'm going to do. And so I was doing that, and then it was, again, I don't know the time frames. It must have been at least 6 months to a year. My brother was in Atlanta, and he was volunteer assist coaching with Chase Hodges at Georgia State while my brother was working and doing internships and getting into the business world.
Yeah.
And Chase was getting ready to move over to Georgia Gwinnett College, NAIA.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking to Brad about me, apparently, and my story and what I wanted to do. And
let me just interrupt you 1 second.
Yeah.
Chase has been on this podcast multiple times.
I know.
He's now with UTR. Yep. So those of you who aren't familiar, go back through our archives and listen to those. Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah.
So I believe he gave me a call one day, and he's like, hey, you want to come play tennis at Georgia Gwinnett? I was like, I can't do that. I've just played 3 or 4 years of pro tennis. My eligibility's done, right? And he's like, well, actually, and I'm not going to go into all the specifics and details of it, but this thing can happen. I was like, okay, well, I didn't really have that in the cards to go play more tennis.
Right.
But I was like, hey, if I can go play tennis with Coach Hodges at what was growing school,
right,
with what was going to be a really great program,
unbelievable,
while getting my education paid for, I was like, that's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
So we had to go through some final hurdles with eligibility.
Sure.
Both
compliance with the school.
Yes. Yeah. Education, all that stuff, all the testing, all the documents. And then I also had to, which was easy at that stage, but NAI asked for me to prove that I wasn't making money on the pro tour. And I was like, okay, let me just pull up 1 month of expenses compared to my earnings for that year, and I can do that. Yeah. So we did that. And I think there was 1 year where I had made more than I had spent or something. So I lost a year of eligibility. But anyway, we got through all the hurdles, all the administration of that. And then I started at Georgia Gwinnett College and went up there to play tennis, get an education. And during that time, side note, I was already beginning acting. I was doing acting classes in Florida, and Atlanta was booming. It was like the place. Yeah. So I came up here and tennis, school, got an acting agent. It was like a nice little combo. Yeah.
And you had an outstanding tennis career at Georgia Gwinnett.
Yes. Well, it was an outstanding team. I don't know about me, but I contributed as much as I could. But it was an outstanding team that Chase compiled, and there was a lot of good players, both on the men and women's side.
And Chase coached both sides.
He did,
and y'all were winning national championship after national championship.
We were. It was really fun. Yeah. It was a good group of guys. We were, it was not the same as going to a D1 or, one of these other schools, but in some ways it was too.
Chase did a great job at making sure funding was there, making sure opportunities were there. I mean, y'all weren't just playing other NAIA schools. You were playing across all the divisions and competing well.
Yeah, absolutely. We played some top D2 teams. He always made a point of having a trip where he played the top 2 D2 teams. we played some top D3 teams. In the fall, we got to play in Athens at their individual event. So we got to go up against the likes of the Georgia guys. I remember playing Eubanks in the individual draw there, and I was like, whoa, all right, I'm no longer at this level, but it was fun to get on there again.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did a good job of scheduling some of those too, because we were a powerhouse NAIA school, and I think in another world, or we would have loved to go up against UGA or something just in an exhibition, but I think it was a lose-lose for both. It would take a match away from their schedule or allotted matches, and there was nothing to gain, I guess, from it.
Yeah.
So other than giving us a taste of,
I was gonna say it would have been fun for you guys.
It would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And education-wise, was it hard to get back into the rhythm of being in a classroom and having deadlines, because you hadn't had that in a really long time?
No, but I found that out about myself is when I had it, when I was in school, when I was younger, I was great and I had really good grades, top class, and I went to homeschool and did it that way.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I got back into college, into the college classroom, I was right back into it. Like, yeah, first semester, I was like trying to okay, I need 15 credits, 18 credits, and kind of doing that remedial stuff that you did in high school. But it was a nice little warm up to get back into education. And after the first semester, it was like tying shoes.
So you needed that structure.
Structure was important. It was really helpful.
Yeah. Because tennis provides that. If you're a tennis player, you have to have a structured life. And virtual schools, some of them are great at providing that, and some of them, well, especially when you were doing it, was early in the life of virtual school, and the structure maybe wasn't so clear cut, and
Well, I mean, again, it falls on me. I take full responsibility for that, but
absolutely,
certainly having someone like on you, and whether that was the coach or a teacher or the institution of, it was it just, keeping you in line and keeping you up to those deadlines and making sure you're going to class. And that was, it was very helpful. Because I think on the tennis side, I wasn't going back to GGC to revitalize this career. I was just going to play some tennis, play the matches. I'd compete and stuff for sure. And I wanted to win.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because I was still I don't want to really do this.
Yeah.
But there were definitely, again, the aspects of the teammates and the friends and the trips and the other things that come along with it.
Yeah.
I think were more enjoyable. And then, you're on the tennis court, those competitive juices are going to start going, and you get into it. And again, we played some really good schools, really good players. The top few in the lineups of NAIA schools are really good players. So you couldn't just walk on there and just, you had to be in there.
Yeah.
So I for sure, my original answer, yes and no. I enjoyed it, but I also was like, I could do without the tennis at the same time.
Yeah.
But
was there any type of thought process that I've got to figure out a way to find some joy with this, or else I'm going to bang my head against a wall?
Yeah. But I think personally, I'm sure many tennis players can attest to this, is you're trying to find that throughout.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just, it's not every day you're waking up super happy and pumped up and positive about going to the practice court or going to the gym or going to this tournament when you're feeling a certain way physically, mentally. You got school, you got these friends things, you got life. It was tough. So finding that balance was always a daily, weekly kind of, I wouldn't say battle, but you kind of had to put that front on even when it wasn't truly inward within you.
Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. Yeah. But there are more ups than downs, but the downs are really down, in tennis. So trying to find that nice balance and riding that wave without going all this way.
All the way down, yeah.
But you find a good support group, whether it's your parents, your siblings, your coach, your friends, the fellow players who, I have friends that I made from really early days in juniors, and I'm still friends with them all the way up to now. Those are the ones that kind of keep you up too,
Absolutely.
And you gotta kind of rely on them a lot of times too. Because it's tough. It's a lonely sport. College tennis wasn't lonely because you had the team, but you're still battling your own things there, unique to you, that the other guys don't exactly relate to. So
well,
if that
and
makes sense.
the GGC team, there were a lot of guys not from the States.
Yeah.
So there were some cultural differences, which y'all overcame pretty easily, it seemed. Just when I saw y'all playing, everybody seemed to be really good. Hell yeah, I watched y'all. Yes, of course. I was living here then, and my son would come play tournaments up there.
Yeah, tournaments every weekend now.
So, but I thought, it was my first exposure to these older players and players from all over the world coming together. Yes, it's still college tennis, but it's kind of different because most of you had pursued a pro career at some level before you came back to school, which I think has to have provided some support and some comfort to all of you, because you all made that choice to walk away from professional tennis.
I wouldn't say the whole team, but yeah, there were certainly some there that had done that. Look, I think if you're 30 and you've given 10 years of your life to pro tennis, should you come back and play college tennis? Probably not. There should be some age limits to it, but I never understood why a kid at 17 couldn't go dip his toe in the water, her toe in the water, and go play some pro tournaments, whether you make money or not. Go play, and then, if you're still 17, 18, 19, 20, and you can go get a scholarship or go play college tennis somewhere, wherever that may be, why not?
Why not?
And I know that they've done some changes with the NIL and things like that.
The new house settlement.
Yeah, I don't know all the specifics of that, but they've certainly opened the door to being able to do that. But I never understood that when I was playing. Like, why did it have to be, we can't take any of this money? Only money you can, like, if a guy got a wild card in the US Open, you can only claim expenses.
Right.
You're talking about at that time, I don't know, like $30,000 check first round. Like, you're not going to give this guy that can help fund the fall. Like, go play some tennis and then start in January. Anyway, that's an aside, but
it's an ongoing point of discussion.
Yeah, but it definitely opened my eyes up to, when I was growing up and playing juniors, it was like D1. And we were talking about UGA, Kentucky, Florida, maybe SoCal, these schools. But then I realized, like, talking to Chase, going to GGC, NAIA, starting to play these D2 teams, D3 teams. I was like, these guys are good. Like, it's not all there at these top schools. Like, there's really good level at all these levels. All these like divisions. And that really, opened my eyes up to. And now that when I'm working with juniors today, it's not like, hey, perfect world, would you love to play at UGA? Can you play at UGA? Maybe. But you got to know that there's a lot of great opportunities out there, that you'll still get great tennis, great experience, great education. It just might not be at Athens.
I promise I didn't coach him on this.
You heard it here first. We didn't talk about this. But yeah, that's the truth. And
the truth.
Look, it's awesome to sit in play in a court with stands filled. Like, it's a dream. But I had some great experiences at GGC playing in front of 2 or 3 people. But the tennis was fun. The teammates were fun. The school, it was fun. I don't know, but it was good. You had everything you needed, and you can do that at so many different places. The opportunities are so vast.
Absolutely.
So
and the college landscape is changing so quickly right now with the house settlement and all of these changes. So I think it is important to have a wide funnel, especially at the beginning of the recruiting process, right? You've got to just open your mind to the fact that there are some amazing schools, maybe in cities and towns you've never heard of, but you can still go there and have this phenomenal experience. So I think that's really important.
I met my wife in Lawrenceville, Georgia, at George Gwinnett College. So if I hadn't gone there,
talking about that, actually, I was talking to Hannah Keeling this weekend.
Oh, really?
And she was like, "Oh yeah, he met his wife there
in the pro shop of the tennis at our facility."
Oh, too funny.
So, like, I mean, come on.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
I would never. Yeah.
So bring us up to present day. First of all, what was your degree in?
Business marketing.
Okay.
I've used that 0 times. I put it in a business resume,
Yeah.
and I started filling this thing out. I did some volunteer work. I got some tennis stuff in there and special skills. Never used that business resume one time.
But I will say,
By choice.
marketing, you're an actor
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
You are marketing yourself constantly.
Trying. Yeah.
So the skills are going to translate. I
Yes.
promise you.
Yes.
You will use them.
Yeah. So did it in business marketing, but as I said earlier, we were here in Atlanta, and this hub was just growing and getting more productions, TV and film. So I got with an agent,
Mhm.
a theatrical agent. I was going out for auditions. So I was getting a job here and there, not consistently.
Mhm.
Life of an actor is very difficult.
Yeah.
I chose to go from a tennis pro to an actor. Yeah, really good career moves. Yeah, really keeping my parents on edge here. But I was getting, the odd job here and there, and they're good jobs, like
Right.
network shows or streaming things. So there are these little jobs here and there spread throughout the last, like, during that time, like 4 or 5 years, that
Mhm.
kept that going for me
Good.
at the same time as I was doing tennis coaching.
Yeah.
And I was coaching at first at Greater Atlanta Christian School
Okay.
when it just first started going with Scott Hutchinson,
Okay.
and that was early days. And then my wife and I moved over to Alpharetta, just across town, and then I got introduced to Jim Harp of Harp Academy,
Yeah.
and he was looking for someone to come in. He has had and has a great junior program.
Yeah.
And I came in there and I was like, look, I'm an actor, but I'm not acting every day. I go like a lot of months without a job. But, there might be a job or an audition that takes me away like this.
Mhm.
Are you cool with that? And he was like, yeah, you come and go as you please.
Wow.
Kind of make your own hours. I was doing group stuff, but I was scheduling privates. It was the best setup. And I really, really, really am thankful to Coach Jim. So I've been there kind of, flexibly on and off
Right.
while pursuing the acting career. And just in the last 2, 3-ish years, 4 years, I started getting more steady work. And I was working as a series regular on a show on Stars. And then this year, I've gotten a couple really great network procedurals like Law and Order and FBI Most Wanted. And I'm really starting to kind of go on the right foot there on the acting path. But with all that said, over, I'd say, the past 5, 6 years, working at gyms, being on court, also doing the acting, I realize I do enjoy my time on court.
Mhm.
I don't want to be a full-time tennis coach. It's a hell of an effort. All those coaches out there that are on, like, I mean, you're outside here, it's 100 degrees, and you're on from 9 to 9. It's crazy, but I still wanted to be involved in tennis, and right now I'm able to do it at an adjusted rate
Right.
for me that works for me. So I'm getting a lot of passion out of hitting with tennis, juniors, helping to steer them as best I can, impart my knowledge, my wisdom, my experience on them while they're navigating everything, and at the same time keeping myself open up to the opportunities that the acting world has been giving me. So it's been a nice mix.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool to hear. All right, last question, then I'll let you get back to it.
Thank you. No worries. We can keep going. I'm liking this.
Good. When you're talking to the juniors that you work with, what is some of the advice that you feel is necessary for them to hear as they're coming up? Those kids that, and for the most part, the kids here, they're looking at maybe earning a spot on a college tennis team. Every now and then you get a kid that's got pro potential, right? But that's few and far between.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you like to say to them to kind of help them understand and put everything in perspective?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, it's a good question. I'm sure.
Try.
I'm sure. I'm sure you've heard very similar and familiar answers over the years with this. Maybe a little bit cliche too, but I think first and foremost, number one is you have to work. You have to work at it, and that doesn't mean you have to go my route and go to Bollettieri and dedicate every day and a lot of hours to the game. You can do it so many different ways, but you need to put in the work.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you are trying hard, and your time on the court, time in the gym, doing the stuff that isn't as enjoyable, which is the stretching and the icing and the this and that, eating right. If it's something you really want to pursue, college tennis, pro tennis, D1, anything, you got to put in the work. And then to, second that, I would say it's not a sprint.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of pressures on these kids, whether it's self-inflicted or a lot of times it's exterior or from something else, someone else. They think it has to happen now. They want results today, yesterday. So I say, everybody's running their own race.
Yeah.
You're running your own race. Take your time, do the right things, and what's meant to be, what's supposed to come is going to come. And I think that is obviously, you want to surround yourself with the right people, right coaches, right friends, right teammates at high school, whatever that is, the right players and stuff like that. You want to have a good support system.
Yeah.
But, just stay in the path and putting in the work. And I think only good things happen. That's what I believe.
When you were coming up, UTR wasn't around yet.
No, not at all.
But now the kids you're coaching are dealing with that.
Yeah.
And this fly's driving me crazy.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't want to go away. I love UTR, don't get me wrong, but it definitely adds a level of pressure that players of your generation didn't deal with.
Yeah.
When you're talking to kids that are so focused on ratings and rankings, is there something that you found works to get through to them to help them understand that if they put in the work, like you're saying, that other stuff takes care of itself?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't UTR for my generation going up, but we had the rankings.
Yeah, well, of course.
We had our thing that we would talk about or kind of obsess over, and definitely at times too much. But yeah, the common discussion or talk I'm always hearing when they're going into a tournament or talking this or that is, what's their UTR or what's my UTR going to be and this and that. I'm like, and it's so much easier said than done. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
Like, hey guys, don't focus on the number or whatever is across the net. Just focus on you. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what I say.
Yeah.
And either they're going to be able to internalize that and take it and put it into action, or they're going to step on court and they're going to let that kind of noise consume them. But I always go back to, if you're doing the work, you're doing the right work, and you're taking care of number one, you, that all that other stuff takes care of itself.
Yeah.
And I definitely had times as a junior where I was worried about, and I stepped on the court at Kalamazoo as the top seed. I'm playing a guy who was a great player, but he's 70, 80 in the nation. And I was like this, I'm like this, only because I knew that number. But, there were these times where I just got into my routines on court and off, where I was like tunnel vision, that it made me forget all the other stuff. And I got out of that, that definitely would come in and out of that. But as soon as I found my tunnel and I was staying in that lane, I was not worried about that stuff that just, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You're the only thing that matters as a coach, and then what we want for players is to develop, be a good person, work hard, and then all that other stuff takes care of itself.
Amen. Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for this.
Thanks for having me. This was
driving
fun.
down here.
This is awesome. It's a great venue for this chat, this conversation.
Hopefully you'll get involved with Intennse. And
I'm not hitting the ball as well as I used to, so I don't want to come out and embarrass myself, but maybe a coach, maybe I don't know, maybe an appearance here or there. But
bring some of the harp kids down here to
absolutely, they should. Yeah.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
To my audience, thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on Parenting Aces.